I'll call to order. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 members here. And is there other people online here? So we have a big enough quorum for opening the hearing and taking the vote.
We have 4 members here.
4 members, yeah.
I believe they're just coming. It's okay, you just need 4.
Well, then I'm going to suspend the meeting. It's Thursday, July 30th, 7 p.m. And it's a public hearing, special meeting, hybrid. So at this point, I'd like to open the public hearing. ZBA 2627-01, application of the town of Columbia for a placement of a 12 by 20 shed to house a new water treatment system within the 25-foot northeasterly side yard setback of the property. The applicant requests a variance to reduce the northeasterly side to 8 feet. Assessor's map number 018, lot 001, zone RA, lot area 23.65 acres. The application is here. The budding landowner notices are here if anybody wishes to review them. I don't see any correspondence in here.
No.
From anybody. The purpose of the application is to place a 12 by 20 shed to house the new water treatment system. It's a variance of section 7.7 minimum side yard, reducing the northeasterly setback from 25 feet to 8 feet. The agent and the owner and the applicant is the town of Columbia. And the reason for the application, they wrote request to modify existing special permit to include the shed. It's not a special permit, it's a variance. So I would like, we'll correct that. And I'm going to read a letter. Dear members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, on behalf of the town of Columbia, I am respectfully requesting that the Zoning Board of Appeals grant the variance from the 25-foot side yard setback for the installation of a 12-foot by 20-foot shed placed 8 feet from the northeasterly side yard property line at 2 Schoolhouse Road, Horace W. Porter School. The proposed structure is necessary to accommodate the equipment required to provide a permanent water treatment solution for the school. The shed will serve solely as an enclosure for this mechanical equipment and will not alter the existing use of the property, increase occupancy, expand educational operations, or otherwise change the character or function of the site. Connecticut General Assembly 8.6 allows the ZBA to grant variances from the zoning regulations with respect to a parcel of land when only for conditions especially affecting such parcels but not affecting generally the zoning district in which it is situated. A literal enforcement of such bylaws, ordinances, or regulations would result in exceptional difficulty or unusual hardships. The proposed location of the shed to house the water treatment equipment is the only feasible location due to the existing layout of the land and location of the well. To provide filtration properly, the equipment must be located approximate to the well so that the clean water can be easily pumped into the school. The filtration system cannot be placed inside the schools that require extensive modifications to the existing building. The town considered modifying the lot lines of the town hall parcel and the school parcel as an alternative. However, recent approval of an easement through Eversource would make this difficult, if not impossible task. We ask the ZBA to consider this project promotes public health and welfare and public student body of Horace W. Porter School. Thank you for your time and consideration of this request. We appreciate the Commission's continued support as we work to ensure safe and reliable water system for our students, staff, and community. Should you require any additional information or documentation, please do not hesitate to contact me. Mark Walter, the town administrator for the town of Columbia. All right. Does everybody understand what a variance is? If not, I'll read you the dictionary. First of all, whenever a zoning board of appeals grants or denies any variance in the zoning regulations applicable to any property or sustains or reverses wholly, partly in any order, requirement, or decision appealed from, it is required to state upon its record the reasons for its decision and the zoning bylaw, ordinance, or regulation which is varied in its application to which an exception is granted. When a variance is granted, the board is required to describe specifically the exceptional difficulty and unusual hardship on which it is based. I'll go to variances. As I read before, the general statutes have given boards of appeals to determine and vary the application with their general purpose and intent, with due consideration for conserving public health, safety, convenience, welfare, and property values, subject to the respect of a parcel of land, owing to conditions especially affecting such parcel. It should be remembered that 8.7 of the general statutes requires that whenever a zoning board of appeals grants or denies any variance in the zoning application, it is required to state upon the record again which zoning bylaw, ordinance, or regulation is varied to which. When a variance is granted, describes specifically the exceptional difficulty or unusual hardship when its decision is made. Couple points that I always read with this. Hardship must be different in kind that generally affecting properties in the same zoning district and must arise directly out of the application, the ordinance, to circumstances, conditions beyond the control of the applicant. Self-inflicted or self-created hardship is never considered proper grounds for a variance. The granting of a variance must be reserved to those situations involving exceptional or unusual circumstances. That it would be to the applicant's financial advantage to secure the variance does not warrant relaxation of the zoning regulation on the grounds of particular difficulty or unnecessary hardship. Ordinarily, mere financial loss does not constitute a hardship warranting the granting of a variance. Disappointment in use of property does not constitute exceptional difficulty or unusual hardship, and a variance should not be granted unless it's in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning. Okay, who is going to be speaking in regards to this tonight from the town?
Thank you, Mark. I can speak, or if you don't
Savannah,
like-
why don't you tee it up, and then Mike and I
Yeah.
are both here for questions specific to the town or the school.
Sure. So as you read in the statement, that pretty much sums it up, but there was a need for a shed to house the water treatment equipment at the school. There are 2 wells, and we have a plan here. And I don't think we can throw it up on there, fortunately, but I will break one off and share it with the public here. The well location is pretty restrictive to where the water treatment shed and thus the equipment can be placed. Thank you. And as you can see, it needs to be close enough that the water can travel from the well into the treatment system and then back into the school. So the alternatives that were looked at were housing the entire system in the school. Unfortunately, that would require extensive modifications to the building. So that was ruled out as being feasible under the budget constraints that they were at. And then the other alternative was potentially changing the lot lines of the parcels. So the town owns the parcel that we're sitting on now, and then the school parcel. The line is pretty much the sidewalk between the two. So it is possible that you could move that line, thereby creating more space, and the shed would conform to the 25-foot setback if you move the line towards the town hall. Unfortunately, we couldn't do that because recently, as Mark informed me, there was work done with Eversource to create an easement access through the parking lot and into the school. So there were all new plans drawn up. It was very, obviously money-intensive process. A lot of work went into it. So to redo the town lines would mean we'd have to redo all that work with Eversource creating the easement. Mark, is that correct, or would you add anything to that?
So if I may, more than financial, it's a real giant time crunch to get this whole system installed and in works before the kids come back in September. So we're down to just one more month. And the easement alone with Eversource took us 4 to 5 months to get that through. Eversource has a lot of bureaucracy with that easement, and it's now on a permanent file record with Eversource and the town. And that's for the new power upgrade for the new transformer that's going in to power the entire HVAC system that the school is using. And so the well couldn't go in the school because to re-engineer the school to hold the well filtration system in the school would take, by the time you hire engineers and all, it'd probably be a year. And we need to get this filtration system up and running before September. So this, our only last resort is ZBA to approve this variance from 25 to 8 feet because the well house has to go there. Thank you.
One of my biggest questions is, were there any alternative to drilling a new well in a different location, like over towards the elderly housing over here who have a clean bill of health in regards to PFAS?
Well, actually, I just want to clarify that it's really not the problem of the wells themselves. It's where our water tank sits, because right now the water tank is right next to the location of the shed. So we basically have to run the water from the well. Yeah, we could have probably put it somewhere up against the building, but then we're trenching all over the place instead of just bringing the water, which is already in the tank chamber. There's a vault that's in the ground. We're taking that water out of that chamber up into the building and then back into the tank. So instead of having to go around trees, or because we've got several historic trees that we're trying to avoid, if we were to move this up against the building, we felt that it now becomes a safety issue. People can hide behind the building. And now we're just running and digging across the lawn, and crossing over our tank and everywhere else. And partially, I was not even aware of the boundary being where it was. I thought it was actually kind of the middle of the driveway, because of where our walkways go. So there was a little confusion there as to where that boundary was. So we did consider a lot of other locations, but this just made the most sense. Economically, time constraints, and the security, and instead of putting a building up against the school.
Oh, my question wasn't answered.
I'm sorry?
My question wasn't answered. I asked the question if there was any alternative other areas that we could drill a well and bring the water to the school without having to spend the money on a filtration system that's going to need maintenance and a building and then a variance on top of it.
Well, we've already determined that all the wells in the area are contaminated with the PFAS. So drilling another well or 2 wells was not going to guarantee that we were going to have clean water. We know that the town hall has it. Certainly the the old firehouse and the new firehouse have it. I believe, did the history place mark test positive for it? You're muted.
I believe the history place, I'm not positive the history place failed, but the library and the town hall and the school and both firehouses all failed.
I live across the street and mine passed.
Yours passed, Joe?
Yes, it did.
Okay,
Just so you know.
that's good news.
It is good news. So,
Mr. Chair, if I may add one more thing. Just a consideration for the commission, I think we should harken back to the purpose of the zoning regulations and the state statutes that guide us. And the first statute is to promote health, safety, and general welfare of the community. And it goes on to say facilitate adequate provision for transportation, water, sewage, schools, parks, and other public improvements. And that's kind of the basis for all zoning regulations. So I just want to note that I feel this does promote health, welfare, and safety for the community.
what would you say the variance, if it was granted, what would be our reason for that?
Physical nature. I would say the existing location of the tank. But I understand the question.
Well, reading the Burns Bible here, and I'm not trying to give anybody a hard time. I'm just saying, by reading that, we've got to come up with a legitimate excuse for granting a variance. The variances are always difficult to grant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
The fact that it's, the community and the school is going to benefit by this. Is that a legitimate variance to grant putting a building, 8 feet from the property line? And which is a lot. I just want to make sure we do the right thing.
Mark, you're on mute.
Again, does anything come into play in the fact that it's one big complex? We just happen to divide the dividing line between school and town, but we still share the same entire campus.
Anybody have any questions?
What are you thinking about? Trying to find out if digging another well over, back down in the field, closer to the elderly housing would, trying to find out if that would be an alternative? Is that what you're thinking? Asking Joe.
That's what I was thinking, but we don't know what the cost of this is gonna be yet.
Yeah,
We don't know. The town knows.
Yeah.
We don't know what the cost would be to drill a well over there and run pipe all the way to the school either. So, and I understand the expedience of all this because of the school year and the school year coming up. And I know that the town has spent a lot of money on having a tanker sit here. They gotta pay a lease for the tanker a week, and they gotta pay for the water every week, and it's been very expensive.
Excuse me, Joe, can I just say one thing about that, about drilling a well in the back of the school or and realistically in any other location? Our septic system is in the back, so we obviously can't put water and septic together. So all of this would have to be run through the state, and they've been part of this filtration system. We've dealt with them right from the moment I found out. We contacted the state. So they've been very helpful on, they've had to approve the filtration system. We've gone through Eastern Highlands to get approval for the building because of its size. And having to put a well somewhere else. Usually it's a big process of siting that well, or actually we have two wells. And then it would also mean pumping water to our tank, because we don't go directly into the building. We have 6,000 gallons of water that sits in reserve to be able to use that water because we draw it down so fast. So, there would be a lot to really think about, and it would be a big expense putting in. We just had the tank relined so that we can use it. So that was not really part of our plan to actually have to relocate this whole thing. And, yeah, it could take years potentially to get approval to do all of that. So, thank you.
So could the reason be that it physically wouldn't make sense to put it anywhere else? The topography or the geography or?
Well, the topography of there is pretty flat,
Yeah,
so we can't say that. We can't say there's ledge over there. They can't, which sometimes is easily done with a variance. So. Questions, anybody?
When you go down Schoolhouse Lane, where exactly is this gonna be? Say you're going from 66 into Schoolhouse Lane.
So it is in place at this time. There was a shipment incoming, there was a good deal received on the shed. It needed to get the filtration system in before school. They were unaware of the ZBA need, and so when I informed them, they already had a date for the shed. So it is in place at this time. If you went out into this side parking lot next to the town hall, just walk down this way. It's right there. You'll see it.
You see it when you pull in.
There's a paved walkway that goes around.
Right.
And it's right off the paved walkway.
are there objections?
There isn't any correspondence in the file of anybody who had any objections. And all the budding landowner notices.
They've all went out and everything. How about the necessity for having safe water for the school? I mean, isn't it kind of evident that it needs to go there?
Yeah.
Well,
Where else could it go?
I think the exceptional difficulty would be that, the present water in the school has PFAS in it, and that's dangerous to anybody, long-term or short-term. So the fact that they're gonna put a filtration system in there, and logically, with what they have between the tank and everything else, it's, based on the fact that, no other alternative has been looked at, it's the most logical place to put it.
You could say, since all neighboring, many of the neighboring properties also tested positive for PFAS, an alternative location does not appear to be feasible. Result. The firehouse on one side, town hall.
I haven't had mine resolved back.
Well,
Don't they test the water in the school every year for this stuff?
I don't know, you can ask,
that's a Mark question. Mark, did you hear that question?
Don't they test the water at the school every year?
That'd be a question for Mike. They do, but we didn't, it was state mandated for fast. And when's the mandate going to force? In 2027, they recommended we start testing for it now.
Yes. Because what you have to do is you have to test it twice in a 6 to 7 month period. So that's why we started now, and then we would be taking our next one just prior to the rule going into effect.
Yeah, but what I mean, about prior years, haven't the water been tested in past years at the school? until now.
I'm sorry.
Mike, do you want me to? So we always test our water, per state requirements. The
Yeah.
PFAS is a brand new test that they're requiring school systems and schools to conduct. It's not, we're actually being proactive by doing it now. And we're very surprised when it came back alarming.
Okay, so in other words, they tested for other stuff in the past years, but this is the first year, for some reason, they tested for that and they found that it existed.
I can't hear it. It's kind of choppy,
Yeah, it's hard to hear.
So anyways,
but it's the very first time that we have tested for PFAS and it came back with those results. Prior to that, we've tested for all the other, chemicals and bacteria that you're supposed to test for, and we've been fine.
Right. And those are done quarterly.
yes, okay. So it's the new test that.
The new requirement.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anybody else? Now's the time to speak up. The hearing is,
I've lived there with 50 years drinking the same water, so it can.
I don't know.
There it is.
I don't know how my 4 kids survived.
Well, all my kids went to school here and all graduated.
Mine too.
They all, they're still breathing.
All right, since there aren't any other questions, a motion to close the public hearing.
One more question. It's going to be that I asked if it's going to be right here. I was concerned if it was going to be in the back of my yard because I run the playground. Practically by the fences, my fence.
It's not in your backyard, it's on the town property.
Area was in, so that's the.
It's right up over here off the sidewalk.
If you come out of here, you go down the stairs,
Uh-huh,
take a left,
yep,
you'll see it right there.
okay. We're about to put in like everything else. Thank you very much.
Now, is that thing gonna be noisy?
Mike, do you know how loud the system will be?
It will make no noise whatsoever. It's just the water, our well pumps will pump the water through the filters and then it will go right back into the tank. So I don't even think you'd hear it if you were standing inside the shed. Just maybe a little bit of water running through. It should be very, very quiet.
Anyone want to make a motion to close the hearing? Don't be scared. Someone want to second that?
Second.
Any discussion, anybody? Nope. Okay, we'll close the public hearing. New business, application of the town of Columbia for placement of a 12 by 20 shed to house a new water treatment system within 25 feet northeasterly side yard setback on the property. The applicant requests a variance to reduce the northeasterly side yard setback to 8 feet. Somebody want to try a motion? We have some motions that were pre-given to us, sample motions. We have one to approve and we have one to deny.
Are you comfortable that there's a reason? I mean,
I think we could get to that. I think we have to add, if we approve this, I think we had to add a couple things. Somebody wanna
read the
read the
motion?
motion, yeah?
Okay. I make motion that we approve the application of the town of Columbia for a variance at 2 Schoolhouse Road in Columbia, Connecticut, Assessors Map 18, Lot 1, in the RA zone pursuant to Section 7.7 of the Columbia zoning regulations. The request is for a 17-foot variance from the 25-foot required side yard setback, placing water filtration shed 8 feet from the northeasterly property line. The work will include required setbacks of no less than 25 feet for each remaining side yard and the rear yard, no less than 50 feet for the front yard and a maximum lot coverage of 10%. The building height is not to exceed 35 feet. Additional approvals per the Columbia zoning regulations will include EHHD, minor modification of special permit through planning and zoning, and a building permit. Does the shed actually comply to those existing sheds?
That's the building department to decide.
Okay,
We're here strictly for the variance, where it's gonna be placed. So if we approve it, they have to get a building permit and then
gotcha.
building people, planning and zoning have to approve it. So, somebody want to second that?
I'll second it.
I think there's a couple things that we need to put in here. Number one, I really believe that and they said there's no noise, but, you know, being so close to the property line, if there is noise, I would like it in the motion that the town we put some kind of soundproofing around the building or in the building to eliminate that in the future. You know, because pumps do go and they start squealing and so on and so forth. I think that needs to be in the approval. And I think also, you know, that the placement of the building will not affect the surrounding area with property values. And that the variance is because that's the hard part here. And I'm trying to get to the right words for that. And I think it was said pretty well by Mark Walter there in his letter to us. You know, the building has to go near where the wells are. And we would put undue hardship on the town to have to put it anywhere else. And I think the variance is the fact that because of the contamination of the water in the system, for the safety of our kids in the school, that's why I would say we can approve this. Can you get that kind of down? Can you kind of read it back so everybody understands?
Okay. I won't reread the entire motion approved, but the additions are after the building height is not to exceed 35 feet. Soundproofing shall be added to mitigate any noise from the treatment system. The placement of the building shall not affect the surrounding property values. And the hardship for this variance is that the location of the wells and any moving of the wells would create undue hardship. Is that what you think?
Yeah.
And moving of the wells would create undue hardship.
We have a motion and it's been seconded, and all in favor? It's unanimous. Okay. It's been
Yeah, right.
approved. You have to post the decision in the newspaper. There's a 15-day waiting period after it's posted. If somebody wants to appeal our decision. My suggestion would be get all your ducks in order and get this project done.
What are the dimensions of the power?
12 by 20. I don't know what the height is on that.
You can tell them power.
I hope the shed they already bought fits that.
It's already there. Yeah, it's not that.
It's like 10 feet or 12 feet, right, Mike?
Thank you, Mike and Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, yeah.
All in favor? Yippee-yi-yo, ki We want overtime, by the way, tell